today's been a great day. So, does anybody have anything to pray about?
I'd like to pray for continue praying for Tammy Wright and she's got a lot to recover.
All righty.
Let's remember our military.
Yep, let's remember our military. They definitely need prayer. All righty, James Phillips family. Yep, Awana and unspoken. Anybody else got an unspoken request today? All right, multiple unspoken. Yeah. Make sure he's safe and he can actually put up that roof on the sixth church. Remember about, is it next Friday is Halloween or this Friday? I can't remember. Is it next Friday? Yep. Remember, we're going to pass out books. All right, and I believe they are free, right? Correct me if I'm wrong. Yeah, free, and you can get a new one if you return the old one. And if you guys grabbed any cookie dough, please bring the cookies next Thursday, not this Thursday, not tomorrow, but next Thursday. And I think that's about, oh yeah, and if you guys want to help pass out candy or the books, we will be doing that on Friday on Main Street. I think that's about everything. Please remember my family in prayer. Just seems like everything that can go wrong is going to go wrong, but you know, just shake it off and go on, right? It's life. Is there any more prayer requests? Danny Carson, heart transplant, lung transplant. Gilbert and her health. All righty. Anyone else? All right, if not, let's go in the Lord with prayer. Dear Heavenly Gracious Father, we come to you today to say thank you for such a wonderful day. And please remember our pastor as he is in Africa and putting a roof on. And please be with the youth as Awana's going on, and please lead the children to learn to have to trust you and to have faith. And please remember Tammy White and her needs, and please remember our military as they need strength through you and not through their own means. And please remember James Phillips' family as he passed away. And please remember Carson and the lung transplant that she's going to go under. And please remember Miss Gilbert with her many health issues, and please remember all the unspoken requests we have tonight. And please let the book ministry and them tracts we hand out with the cookies reach someone that it will actually touch their lives. In Jesus' name, amen. All right, so the question I'm going to ask tonight It's a very simple question. It's, can we trust God? Which we done know yes, right? But before I answer that question, I first want to read a small verse in 1 Corinthians, all right, verse 18, which is, for the preaching of the cross is to them that perish foolishness, but unto us which are saved it is the power of God. Now with that being said, right, if the power of the cross is foolishness, right, okay, that means the whole Bible seems foolish to the world, because the Bible points solely to Jesus Christ, all right? So what my main thing that I'm going to be in is in Psalms 13, all right? And I'm going to read the whole chapter. And the reason why I read that first one about it being foolish to the world is because when you really trust God, you have faith, right? And without faith, you can't trust God. So it's vice versa, faith and trust, okay? So with that being said, right, we are going to see what it's like at our lowest moment and how we can trust God. Because I don't know about you all, but I have had several times, I have thought, not exactly in these words, but close to it. Okay, so let us read Psalms 13. And it says, how long wilt thou forget me, O Lord? Forever, how long wilt thou hide thy face from me? How long shall I take counsel in my soul, having sorrow in my heart daily? How long shall my enemies be exalted over me? Consider and hear me, O Lord, my God. Lighten my eyes, lest I sleep the sleep of death, lest my enemies say, I have prevailed against him, and those that trouble me rejoice when I am moved. But I have trusted in thy mercy. My heart shall rejoice in thy salvation. I will sing unto the Lord, because he hath dealt bountifully with me. Now, how many people here has almost said them exact same things? Why have you not heard me? Why am I praying and you're not answering? Why? Where are you, God? That's basically where he's saying, right? You might be feeling that way if you lose your job, you lose a spouse, you have health issues, and keep on going and going and going. You're going to think God has forgotten about you. But David, being a wise man, he trusted in the Lord, right? He trusted in his mercy. Now, David didn't have what we have today. He does not have the whole book and the new covenant. What he had was just a few, right? What Moses wrote. So how in the world did he know he could trust God? And this is where I'm getting at. How do we really know that we can trust God? Well, like I said, right, faith and trust comes hand to hand. Without faith, you can't have trust. And without trust, you can't have faith. All right? They are interchangeable. So we are going to look at three people and how they dealt with the lack of faith or trust in God. And they are big ones. All right? So the first one I'm going to look at is Abraham. All right? So we all know Abraham. He left his father's house, left his father's gods, went and started a life where he just roamed the Middle East, followed God, right? He had enough faith because he thought God would be with him. But let me ask you this much. What happens when you are at an impossible moment and you think that something is impossible? Well, I'm going to tell you what Abraham did in chapter 17 of Genesis. All right, 17 in Genesis, verse 15. And God said unto Abraham, As for Sarai, thy wife, thou shalt not call her name Sarai, but Sarah shall her name be. And I will bless her and give thee a son also of her. Yea, I will bless her, and she shall be a mother of nations, kings of people shall be of her. Then Abraham fell upon his face and laughed, and said in his heart, Shall a child be born unto him that is 100 years old? And shall Sarah, that is 90 years old, bear? At this moment, Abraham did everything God said, right? Left his father's place, left his father's gods to worship the true God. But at this moment, he thought something was impossible. His trust in God wavered. And what did he do? He basically laughed in God's face. He may have not done it straight to his face. His face was bent down, and he laughed in his heart. But that's the exact same way of just laughing in God's face. Well, we all know that story about what happens. Isaac is born to a woman in her 90s, a father, 100s, right? Miracle happens. What happens? The next thing that happens in his life, when he's presented with a thing that we would determine even today as unthinkable, right? And knowing that it's impossible for his son to rise up again because God asked him to sacrifice his son. But he done knew right there that God made the impossible happen. Why was he willing to do it? Because he trusted God. He had faith in God. That Isaac was either going on to be raised from the dead, like what Hebrews says in the book of Hebrews, or he's not going to be really killed. All right? He knew that the impossible happened in his life, and he learned to trust God. Just like the impossible happens in every single one of our lives. We thought, this cannot happen. I don't know what to do. I am down on my knees crying for you, Lord, and you have forgotten me. What happens? God picks us up and shows us that the impossible is possible. And then we're going to look at the next person, maybe David looked at. Everybody knows this person. He's a big, huge head in the church, in the whole Bible story. It's Moses, right? So I'm going to not go through every single story that we know, but I'm going to highlight where his faith took him. But first I have to tell you where his trust wasn't in God. So he spent 40 years in Egypt living under Pharaoh's daughter. He spent 40 years in the desert, right? Being a shepherd. So he's 80 years old, sees a burning bush, right? And he goes, looks at it. And this burning bush is not burning, and the burning bush basically told him, you're going to go get my people, and we are going to go take over the land that I promise you all. Right? That's what God told him. What did Moses say? I can't do it. I can't go get them. I have a stutter. I'm slow of speech. I can't do it. What did he not have? He didn't have trust. He didn't trust in God because he thought it was impossible. And God said, all right, I'll show you that it is possible. I'm going to bring your brother Aaron. All right? That's another miracle that people don't point out. If Moses is 80 years old at this point, how old is his brother? And it's his older brother. He made it from Egypt in the desert. I bet Moses heard that and thought, he's crazy. There ain't no way an 80-year-old man is going to make it through the desert starving and with no water. But what happened? We all know that Aaron showed up and Moses made the people to leave. And this is where I'm going to come to where I said where the Bible said that the cross is foolishness. This is the most foolish thing I've ever heard in the Bible, but it happened, all right? And it was a miracle. So we're going to go look in Exodus, all right, chapter 15. Exodus chapter 15, and we're going to start in verse 22. I tried to say the Bible book and chapter and verse twice because I can't. I always end up forgetting myself what the pastor says. All right, so let's start in verse 22. So Moses brought Israel from the Red Sea, and they went out into the wilderness to Shur, and they went 3 days in the wilderness and found no water. And when they came to Mahar, they could not drink the water of Mahar, for they were bitter. Therefore the name of it was called Mahar. And the people murmured against Moses, saying, what shall we drink? And he cried unto the Lord, and the Lord showed him a tree, which when he had cast into the water was made sweet. There he made for them a statute and an ordinance, and there he provided them. I want you to imagine that, right? You're in the middle of the woods, in the boondocks, just no running water. The only local water you have around here is a pond, right? But this is a desert. But I'm trying to paint the picture to where we live in, right? You are walking a mountain. You have no idea where your next water is going to be. Your canteen's gone, and you see a puddle, and you taste it, and it's bitter. My first thought is not to throw a log in it, okay? That seems very foolishness to me. Because I would need a filter. I would need sand, carbon, maybe some cotton on top. Try to filter all the stuff that's in the water out. We know how to filter water. But what did God say? Throw this tree in there, and it's going to become sweet. The water's going to be okay to drink, which is also pointing to Jesus on the tree if you study it a little bit more. But I'm just saying, if God told me that, I think in my head, I would think this it's crazy. How is this going to work? By throwing a log in the water. But you saw where his trust went. He saw all the impossible things that happened. That was made possible. And that's the way we need to look at it today, right? We go through trials. We go through so much, right? And we think, where is God? Let me tell you a little bit about my life. My truck broke down after 2 weeks of handing out free food and gospel. Every single person that grabbed a hamburger, I witnessed to. And I thought, why? Why, God? Today, my van broke down. I got 3 vehicles. 2 of them's broken. And sometimes this is not what I believe, but thoughts enter your head, or at least mine. I'm not perfect, right? I am not a saint. I am only sanctified through the blood of Jesus Christ. But I think to myself, why, God? I'm doing this for you. Why are you making my life miserable? I thought that when my mother-in-law was in the hospital because of a heart attack just several weeks ago. And I thought right afterwards, that's not how you feel. And I asked God for forgiveness. And I said, God, I'm sorry. You know what's in my heart. You know what's in my heart and how I really feel. Please don't pay attention to the thoughts that enter my head. Because this is not what I believe, and this is not what I feel. But in my head, I thought it. Same thing with David. He had enemies all around him. He thought the Lord had forgotten about him. But he knew that he could entrust into the Lord. And I'm pretty sure every single one of us here today has thought of the exact same thing. Why, God? Why? Why is this happening to me? Well, if I can learn anything about David's life, it means to hold fast. There's some good coming. I might mess that up like how David did. But what? He was crowned king when he was just a child. He slayed a giant. And he was chased after his predecessor was wanting to kill him. Saul was, right? Chased him. David was living in caves. I don't know when he wrote Psalms 13. But it shows that even in our darkest moment, we can trust God. And this is why I'm showing you all this. Abraham thought the impossible couldn't happen. And then it did. And then he trusted God willingly, all the way, 100%, and didn't waver. And this is the way we need to do in our life. God have gave every single one of us probably a miracle in our life. In my life, another low point, right? My wife has a rare heart disease. I know I'm probably going to outlive her. It's a progressive disease. Eventually, she's going to have be on more medicine over and over and over again. Right? Well, I started going to church again. Right? And all of a sudden, my wife's medicine started to fail. And I thought, why? You know, I'm trying to raise my family right. I'm trying to lead my kids to the Lord so I can see them in eternity. Why? Why? Just why? And I remember praying a prayer that just asking God to show me that I can trust Him, because I didn't have enough faith. Because prior to her getting the medicine, I watched her for 2 years from be able to walk a track to be able to go other places to where she couldn't walk 15 feet to the bathroom without gasping for air. For 2 years, I witnessed that. And then we got her on medicine. And then exactly when I went into church. Why is that? Well, I can tell you why. Unlike David, David had a physical battle. He had Saul. He had the Philistines. He had his own son trying to take his throne. What we have is spiritual battles. We don't wage with the flesh. We wage with spiritual battles. So when bad things happen because I'm serving the Lord or I'm running towards Him, I'm going to get tripped. My life is going to get hard. But I know at the end of it, there is a glorious blessing that I am running to. Regardless if I see it during this life or the next, I know I'm running towards a blessing. And that's what keeps me moving forward, because I know I can trust God in my life because He has moved when I thought the impossible couldn't happen. And He's shown me that it is possible. Luckily, my wife's medicine started working again. Miracle. Yeah, to me, that is a miracle. Some people might say it's the medicine. Well, God can use doctors and medicines to perform a miracle. Right? It's just like I've got a question from work. If I could choose God or modern medicine, what would I choose? And I'm like, that's a loaded question. Because if I said, oh, I'll only choose God, you are going to think I lack the intelligence and never listen to me again. And if I say modern medicine, then you are going to think, well, then you don't really trust God. Right? So I told him, I said, do you not think God can't move by doctors' hands? Like Brother Kevin's surgery. He says he don't feel pain. I mean, is that the surgeon's doing or God's doing? I think it's God's doing. How many people has prayed about it here? I have. Prayer works. I've seen it over and over in my life. Prayer works. I understand the struggle of thinking that God just doesn't hear you over and over again, because it seems like life is just a downward spiral until we hit 6 feet under. But imagine this. Imagine if you didn't have trust in God. Imagine you didn't think that there is a heaven or a hell. Or you don't care. Life sucks. Worse. At least I know that there's a God that watches after me and that loves me enough that gave me His only Son in my place that I should be at. Right? He defeated death. Do you know why Jesus rose from the grave? To show us that death doesn't hold us anymore. If He just stayed dead, what in the world a fallen would do if He didn't beat it? He beat it. I mean, that's a miracle. No one's found the body. Trust me, if they knew where the body was, the Roman government would tie a rope to it and then tie a rope to the horse and ride it through town and say, this is your God, Christians. But no, that's not what happened. I mean, that's just amazing. Like, amazing. I don't even know why I started on this, chasing rabbit's holes. But look, guys, we have to understand that trust and faith is side by side. When you say, oh, I have faith in God, what you're really saying is I trust in God. I have faith in my salvation because I trust in God for my salvation. I don't know why that word came out weird right then, but it did, so I'm very sorry. All right, but look, this is the way we have hope in the world. David had hope when he was sleeping in caves, when he was running away from his own son. He had hope. He was the Lord's anointed. I'm pretty sure when he faced Goliath, he may have been a little cocky because just a few days beforehand, he was anointed king. And he's like, well, I can't die because, I'm anointed king by God. I don't know if that's really what he thought, but that's what I would think. That's being a little boy. I'm just saying, we need to learn to trust God. And the way we do it is we read our Bible and look in our own lives. We all have our own story that we can tell ourselves. All right? And we're going to look at this last guy. All right? I'm pretty sure everybody knows who Gideon is, right? The guy who took 300 men. But I want to show you where he was at when God first met him. When God first met him, did he have any trust? Did he have a little trust? Did he have a lot of faith? Did he have little faith? Well, let's find out. Right? So we are going to be in Judges chapter 6. Judges chapter 6. All right, verse 25. Verse 25. And I also like to say it twice for the men, because they can't hear half the time. That's more biblical, because God said Abraham, Isaac, Moses. Moses, he said it twice. He says the important things twice. So what's important? The Bible. And why did he say it twice? Because the men wouldn't listen. All right? So ladies, don't look at your husband right now, all right? Just focus, all right? All right. Judges chapter 6, verse 25. All right, let me find it in my Bible. Oh, there it is. Okay. All right. And it came to pass the same night that the Lord said unto him, take thy father's young bullock and the second bullock of 7 years old, and throw down the altar of Baal that thy father has, and cut down the grove that is by it, and build an altar unto the Lord thy father upon the top of this rock in the order place, and take the second bullock and offer a burnt sacrifice with the wood of the grove which thou shalt cut down. Now, let's see what Gideon did. All right? Then Gideon took 10 men of his servants, and did as the Lord said unto him. And so it was, because he feared his father's household, the men of the city, that he could not do it by day, that he did it by night. Now that's where I'm going in. But he did it by night. Why did he do it by night? Well, it's easy. He had enough trust in God to go do what God told him, but he didn't have enough trust to do it boldly. Right? He wanted to do it secretly. He wanted no one to know what he was doing. He wanted no one to see that he was destroying an altar to a false god. Because he knew that if he did, they was going to kill him. But what did God say? God said to do it. If God said to do it, then God's going to be with you. And this is my whole thing. That's just a little bit of trust. He did it. He may have not done it the way he should have done it, but he did it, right? So now, what thing moved in his life after he did it? Well, we know that his father helped him not get killed because he said, Baal is a god. If he's real, he will avenge himself, right? So that means that his father either had a conversion or he really thought that God was going to kill him. The lowercase g God, right? But in my mind, I would like to think that the father probably wised up and said, well, yeah, that was an idol, and I do not need it in my life. It had eyes and it couldn't see. It had nose and couldn't smell. It had feet and couldn't walk. It had a mouth and couldn't talk. It never helped me. And him being a Jew, I'm pretty sure he heard of all the old stories about how their God, the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, saved them from Egypt. And maybe he thought that Gideon was going down the right path. But I'm just showing you a little bit of trust in God can move mountains. Because what happens then? God says, I'm going to use you to slay some people. And what did Gideon said? I don't know about that. Hey, can you make a fleece wet and not the ground? And then he said, can you make the fleece dry and not the ground? Right? He was very humble whenever he was asking God. Right? So we need to be humble whenever we ask for things for God. But what happened after that? His faith and trust skyrocketed to where he's going to lead 300 men to fight an army of thousands. I have been in the army. That is a no-no. You don't want that. You want to try to at least get to the number or pass the number, right? You want to, if they are using a pistol, you use a rifle. That's the way that we did it whenever I did it, right? A force of X of whatever that thing is, right? Sorry, my tongue got tied and I didn't want to stay on it for too long. But that's the rules of engagement when I was over there. So what did we do with people with slingshots is we bought a high-power slingshot and steel balls and shot them with it. But that's another story, all right? But the thing of it is that you don't go with less people and less firearms, right? What did he bring? A pitcher, a trumpet. I don't even think they brought shields. You need to bring your armor. I mean, I could be wrong, but I don't remember shields in the story, right? I mean, you all probably know the story better than me, but I don't think they brought shields. You need to bring armor. What was their armor? God, right? So to me, that's foolishness. Why, like, every single example I showed you is foolishness in my eyes. I wouldn't take my son or my daughter and try to sacrifice them to God. I would be questioning God a whole lot more than what Abraham did. Just to be honest. But what did Abraham do? He did something that was foolishness. And what did Isaac did? Isaac, you have to think, right? Abraham was 100 years old. 100 years old when Isaac was born. Isaac was at least a teenager when this happened. If you don't think a teenager can take a 110-year-old man and subdue him and run away, you are crazy. Okay? I know we got some elderly people in here. Imagine being 110 and your son is at least in his teens. I don't think your son unless it was willingly. What is that an image of? The wood on his back, him walking up a hill, him laying down for something he didn't do. What's that an image of? Jesus. That's why God told Abraham to do it, to point us to Jesus, to have Jesus in the Old Testament. Because what did Jesus do? He carried the cross on his back. He walked up a hill. Has God ever asked that again? No. Thank God. I'm just saying, because I don't think I would pass that test. And just like Moses, he thought that he wasn't qualified for the job. Well, let me tell you right now, if you don't think you're qualified to serve the Lord, you're wrong. Because God don't call the qualified, He qualifies the call. I couldn't be up here talking straight if it wasn't for God. I know I've been stuttering a little bit, but trust me, if you take me side by side and I get excited like I am now, you might as well just park a chair and sit there for 30 minutes because you're going to hear it 5 times over because I'm saying every single word 5 or 10 times over and over again. All right? Gabe has definitely witnessed that. I have stumbled. I have done stuff. I am not qualified to stand up here. I'm not a saint. I am a wretched sinner. I sin daily more and more and more every single day, and I wish I could be more like Christ, and that's what I'm going to. But I'm not perfect. And I'm so glad that God has made a way for it. But just like Gideon, who had a little bit of trust, and what did God do, right? What did God do with that little bit of trust? He moved, in my personal opinion, more mountains in his life than mine. He changed his father's belief in a false idol. He took back the land. I do not have that bold and I don't have that boldness. But he took that little bit of faith and moved it. Because what? Faith has a mustard seed, you can move a mountain. Well, that right there is a big, huge mountain. 300 versus thousands. Changing your parents' faith. Let me tell you, if I try to change my dad's way of thinking, it ain't going to happen. Work all day long. I understand it. But it's like, imagine just that big, huge mountain. Moses faced his mountain in front of Pharaoh. Abraham faced his mountain, 100 years old, buried a son. So, let me ask you this much. What did David do that was really smart in his life, right? He took the examples of others and applied it to himself. He didn't have the full book, but we do. So, I'm going to be turning to Proverbs and looking at 2 at just basically going to show you that learning from other people's mistakes is better than learning from your own. Okay? So the first one in Proverbs chapter 1 is in verse 5. So luckily you don't have to turn that much, only one more time after this. I know your guys' fingers are getting sore because mine would be too. That's why I have bookmarkers, just to let you know. All right. It is in Proverbs chapter 1, verse 5. And it says, a wise man will hear and will increase learning, and a man of understanding shall attain unto wise counsel. What does that say? that says we will learn from others. Learn from others, right? Even though David didn't have that, right? That's what he was doing. I'm pretty sure he taught that to his son, Solomon. Learn from others, right? Okay, well, Nathan, let's look at another verse to make that more into our mind, all right? So it's going to be in Proverbs chapter 12. Proverbs chapter 12. Verse 15. Verse 15. All right, it says, the way of the fool is right in his own eyes, but he that hearken unto counsel is wise. So if you listen to other people, you are wise. If you just listen to yourself, man, I have led myself down some bad roads that I'm like, oh, this is a good idea. It is not a good idea, right? One of my ideas was, you know what would be fun? Jumping off of a bicycle sideways and trying to land on my feet. Well, I've been jumping off of it backwards all day long, and I was like, I would look cooler if I jumped off of it sideways. Well, you know what happened? I didn't land on my feet, I landed on my hands, and I popped this bone out of place and fractured this wrist. So I learned my lesson, right? But I was a fool. I listened to my own self, all right? And if we just listen to our own selves, we don't have no one to say, hey, man, look, that sounds stupid, all right? Because if someone said that to me, I'll probably, yeah, you know, I would talk myself out of that, right? But, hey, we need to have people all around us. And we also need God's word. Because what was David using to uplift himself? To trust in his mercy, right? Where did he get that from? The Bible. Where did he get trust from? He learned it from others. He didn't learn it from himself until later on in life. I'm pretty sure that he heard the stories of Moses and Abraham and Gideon and thought, well, these people trust God a little bit. Maybe I should trust God. And you know what? I say that helped him fight the bear and the lion before he took down Goliath. I don't know about you, but being an 11 or 12-year-old boy facing a lion or a bear, I don't think I would have done it to the bathroom if I saw them running after me to change my clothes, right? Because being that small, I was father. When his father said, come here, I'm going to tell you about Abraham, our founding father. Come here. I'm going to tell you about this. And I'm pretty sure his father had his own story about God. We all here have a story about God that we can say, this is where he moved in my life. If none other, if you are saved, that's where God moved. Right? That's where he moved. Because he turned something that was more awful than filthy rags. More awful than what your clothes look like in a coal mine or home from work if you work at a dirty place. Right? You look worse than that and took that and made it white as snow. White robes. My skin's clean. I'm not staying no more. And it's nothing to do with myself. It's all because of him. Right? And just in case you want a source, right, of modern day times, I'm pretty sure everybody knows who Warren Buffett is, but he said, it is good to learn from your mistakes. It's better to learn from other people's mistakes. Now, I know he might not be a Christian. I don't know. I didn't look that up. But that's what the Bible said. right? To seek counsel, to learn from him. He got that from the Bible. He just put his own words from it. He may have not known it, but that's where the words came from. So we have to look at other people's mistakes, even in the Bible, in ourselves, and think, well, maybe I should trust God more. But we all have our own personal relationship with God. And He's moved in my life multiple times. I've been homeless before, but I had a car to sleep in. I didn't think I was going to get at a place. I got at a place. I didn't think I'd eat. Well, I worked at McDonald's. I ate there. He may not give you what you want, but He's going to give you what you need. Because if He gave me $1 billion, would I still serve Him? I might want that, fancy cars, big, huge house. It'd be nice. Wouldn't be nice to clean it, but would be nice, right? Everybody dreams about that at one point in their life. More and more and more. Well, the more and more and more don't get you nowhere, but less and less and less, because you depend on God less. You depend on others less. And that's where we should be at, is depending on God and coming together as a church family. So that is my message today, how we know that we can trust God. It's very easy to trust God when you have this whole book in front of you and your life. But imagine David. He didn't have, but I don't know. Let me see if I can find this much of the Bible. And some of this is preface. And he learned to trust God through the stories that I told you. And they're not stories. They are the truth. But you guys know what I mean. From someone telling him that, from that little bit of the Bible. And we have the whole thing, guys. And we also have our life experiences. So that will be my message. Hunter, do you care to...